Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Sorry it's been a little bit since I've posted anything on this channel. There have been a couple videos that I've wanted to do, but when I actually started to try to record them, it just wasn't coming to me. I couldn't really talk about it for some reason. I didn't think it worked out very well. Plus I just haven't had many chances to actually record videos, so I do apologize for that. But today I want to talk about something that I've been kind of thinking about talking about for a little bit. And this is something that if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know kind of how much I like to talk about this kind of thing, and I have talked about it some before, and that is Star Wars Legends. And how it relates to canon and kind of my thoughts on both. And kind of in this video, I want to talk a little bit about my experience with both of them, and talk a bit about what I think are some of the positive aspects with both of them, what I think are some of the negative aspects, which one I like better, because even though I do often say I enjoy both, which I do, I think, they both have a lot to offer. There is one that I feel more of a connection to, so I'll kind of talk about that a little bit as well. So first of all, very quickly, what exactly is the difference if you're not super knowledgeable about that sort of thing? So basically, Star Wars Legends, which once upon a time before Disney bought Star Wars was just referred to as the Expanded Universe, was basically all non-film Star Wars content that was created between 1977, basically when Star Wars first came out, and 2012, or technically 2014. So all the books, all the games, all the comics, the TV series, which there weren't many of, but there was some like the old cartoons like Ewoks and the Droids one and the Clone Wars from 2003. All that stuff was included in the Expanded Universe, basically. And then when Disney bought Star Wars in 2012, things didn't immediately change, I don't really think, but I think around 2014, at some point in 2014, I'm pretty sure, they basically said all of the books and comics and all that jazz is no longer canon. We're putting it under the Star Wars Legends banner, which is now what it's known as. So basically, Star Wars Legends is all of those stories that came out from 1977 to 2014-ish, of course, aside from like the first 6 movies, which have always consistently been a part of the Star Wars canon. All of that stuff is what Star Wars Legends is. As far as what canon is basically everything that's been done since then, unless it's specifically said that it's not canon anymore, which there was also some stuff that was not canon to the Legends timeline, so it's kind of extra not canon or something. But basically everything that has been done since the decanonization of the Expanded Universe, the old Expanded Universe, everything since then, for the most part, has been canon. There's been a few things here and there that haven't been, but a lot of the stuff, the TV shows and the books and the comics and the sequel trilogy films and Rogue One and Solo, all that stuff, the Clone Wars, is all canon. And the Clone Wars is a little bit of a weird one for me because it technically also fits in both along with the first 6 films, but I consider that more as fitting canon rather than Legends, because it did actually retcon or change a lot of things about the Clone Wars era that were in Legends. For example, currently I'm reading the Republic Commando books, and there's a lot of stuff in those books, of course, that took place during the Clone Wars. And the TV show, the 2008 TV show, retconned a lot of stuff from that, as well as like the 2003 Clone Wars show. And they did kind of try to fit things together a little bit, but overall it just doesn't quite fit. So I consider that more of a canon thing rather than a Legends thing. But that's just me. So as far as kind of my thoughts on some of the pros and cons of each one, I guess I'll start with canon first because I don't know, it's newer, I guess. So canon, of course, there's the immediate positive thing about it, which is if you check out any of that content, it is canon officially, whereas Legends, the most you can really do is just headcanon it. I know there are a lot of people, a lot of EU fans who just consider that stuff canon to them anyway. but officially by Lucasfilm it is not considered canon anymore. Those stories really, until things are brought over to canon, don't really have any bearing on anything recent. So there is that one immediately positive aspect. Another one is that there's the Lucasfilm Story Group, which has been trying to keep things consistent. And I say trying to keep things consistent because one of the negative things is that that doesn't always happen, which is it's not a new thing for Star Wars. There have always been some inconsistencies and retcons and different things like that. But for the most part, at least in what I have experienced from canon, things have been mostly consistent. A lot of the stuff that's not is a lot of minor details, at least I think. Another positive thing I think in canon's favor is that it's still ongoing. And Legends pretty much ended at 2014. With stuff like the Kenobi novel, for example, was one of the last Legends novels. I can't remember off the top of my head what like the last couple of them were, but I know that was one of the last ones, and it came out in 2014. So like that sort of span of time when Legends was ending, that's the last thing that we're ever going to get from it, aside from, you know, like reprints and things like that. At least for now. Maybe at some point it'll be continued, but I honestly doubt it. As much as I would love to see that, I don't think it's going to happen. But with canon, there's still new stuff coming out. You've got a bunch of new books coming out, like the High Republic stuff, which I have been really enjoying, and I know many other fans have as well. That started earlier this year, and it's going to be continuing, I would guess, at least for another few years. And then you've got, on top of that, all the other books coming out, all the different comics. We've got new TV series for Disney Plus coming out, and new films coming in the next few years, like the Rogue Squadron movie and a few other ones as well. Which to me, that is probably the biggest plus in terms of canon, is that it's stuff that's still coming out. There's still stuff to get excited for and look forward to with it, whereas with, you know, Legends, there's really not. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is sort of a positive and also sort of a negative, kind of starting to get into the negatives, which I've already discussed. One, that being the slight inconsistencies, which personally doesn't bother me that much, as long as it's nothing huge. But kind of a double-edged sword, which is that canon hasn't been around for very long. It's only been around since 2014, aside from, you know, the first 6 movies and the Clone Wars and all that stuff. But since Disney got Star Wars, you know, since 2012, I can't remember if any canon stories that are currently canon were done between 2012 and 2014, but at the very least since 2014. That has been the canon stuff, which has only had like 7 years to really get going, whereas Legends had, you know, 30 plus years. So there's just not as much stuff, which could be a turnoff for some people. You know, with Legends, there's just so much stuff to get into, with so many different kinds of stories, so many different eras. I think there's kind of something for everyone. Whereas with canon, it's much more limited because they just haven't had the time to develop it yet. But at the same time, it's also can be kind of a positive thing, because one reason that I've seen people say they didn't get into Legends or haven't yet or whatever is because there's just so much stuff. They don't know where to start, or it's just intimidating because of just how vast of a thing it is, I guess. But then on the other hand, you have canon, which is more easily digestible because there's just less stuff. On top of that, there is visual media like the TV series, like the Clone Wars Season 7, Mandalorian, Bad Batch, all that stuff, in addition to all the upcoming ones. Plus you have more movies like the sequel trilogy and Rogue One and Solo, which, at least to me, sitting down for 2.5 hours or so and watching a movie is a lot easier to do than work through a book over the course of a week, or spend 20 hours playing a video game or whatever. As great as those experiences can be, watching the movies or the TV shows or whatever is just easier. So It's just more easily digestible for those couple of reasons. But again, that's kind of a double-edged sword. There's some positive aspects to it and some negative ones depending on how you look at it. Now, talk a little bit about Legends. I know there's not a whole lot of negative things for me to say about Canon because I don't see very many. For me, a lot of the stuff for both of these is generally pretty good. But as far as Legends, again, some of the stuff that I talked about with Canon can also be applied here, or at least some of the stuff I touched on is relevant. So like Legends just has so much stuff. There's something for everyone. I think if you're interested in, you know, the times way before the movies, there's a whole bunch of stories there. If you're interested in what happened after the movies, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. If you're interested in the in-between, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. You get what I mean. So I think there's something really for every Star Wars fan within Legends. And on top of that, because there is so much content, there's a bunch of different ways to experience it. So with Canon, I mean, there's the TV series, there's the movies, there's the books and a handful of games and different things. But with Legends, because there's just more stuff, there are more different ways to experience those, I think, or at least the ways in which you can experience the stories are bigger. So there's more books to check out, there's more comics to check out, there are more games, there's a lot more games to check out. I mean, just within like 1 year of the mid-2000s, we got as many Star Wars games as we have gotten since 2014. Which I'm not saying quantity equals quality, but like a lot of those games were quite good. Whatever you're interested in, if you're interested in books, there's a whole bunch of stuff there to check out. If you're interested in the games, there's a whole bunch to check out, you know, so on and so forth. Whereas with Canon, you're a little bit more limited, again, because it just hasn't had enough time to get to the point where it can be as big as Legends. And also there is limited, I guess, on-screen content, whereas, you know, like back with Legends, you've got the first 6 films, which counts for both Canon and Legends. And then other than that, if you want to like watch something, you only have a handful of, you know, shorter TV series, like the Clone Wars from 2003, which the entirety of that is only a few hours long. And then you've got some of the older ones as well. Whereas with Canon, there's been a whole lot more stuff done. There's been 5 more whole movies. There's all of the new Disney Plus series coming out and the ones that have already come out. So that's kind of one of the drawbacks. I think one of the biggest drawbacks of Legends is that you don't get to see those stories on the screen, which is unfortunate because, you know, Star Wars, at its core, at least to me, is a film franchise. You know, that's the way it started, that's kind of what it's continued to be, and even though there are all these different other things that have been done with it, at its core, it's movies. On top of that, also the TV shows and stuff. And you just don't really get that with Legends. You don't get these stories told on screen or anything like that. So I think that's one of the more big negative points. You kind of have to do more reading, you have to use your imagination a little bit more, which can be fun, but at the same time, it would just be really cool to get these on screen. So with all of that, which one of these do I actually like better? Which is kind of, on one hand, easy for me to decide, and on the other, difficult, because I do love a lot of stuff from both. You know, I love all of the movies that have been done in canon since the Disney buyout and everything, the sequel trilogy and the spin-offs, and the TV series, The Mandalorian, Bad Batch, I've enjoyed. You know, all that stuff. The High Republic, I think, is awesome. It's one of my favorite things in Star Wars ever, basically. However, as much as I do love canon, I would say if I were to pick one that I'm more interested in and one that is more near and dear to my heart, I suppose, I would probably go with Legends. And there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, I'm just more interested in the stories. You know, this year when I've really been diving into the novels, I've kind of wanted to keep it fairly equal between checking out canon and checking out Legends. But the thing that I very quickly discovered, and this may just be because I've read a whole lot and heard a whole lot more about Legends over the years, something that I've noticed when I've been kind of starting to get into the books more, and even the comics as well, which I've sort of started a little bit recently, is that a lot more Legends has been appealing to me than Canon, which isn't to say that Canon doesn't appeal to me. I've read some really awesome Canon stories, and I've heard a lot of good things about many of the others I haven't read. But if you look at my collection of books, which I have right over here, which I'll just show you very quickly just so you can see what I mean. These are my Canon books. Not all of these are Star Wars. I got like my old Narnia books and stuff. But these are my Canon books. I have the High Republic, I have a handful of other ones, and that is it. Whereas with Legends, I have all of these, which is at least double in total what I have for Canon, especially when you take into consideration that also a few of them are not here. I have a few of them out in my car that I bring to work with me. So I have a lot more Legend stuff than Canon stuff. So I think, you know, that in itself kind of proves that Legends has just been more appealing to me. I've heard more about these stories and they just sound more interesting to me. And then again, that's not to say that the Canon ones don't, but that's just how it is. On top of that, a whole bunch of my favorite Star Wars stories have come from Legends, and again, not that ones from Canon haven't. For example, you know, the High Republic is like one of my favorite Star Wars things ever. But then at the same time, when I think my favorite Star Wars stories, in addition to the films, there's Knights of the Old Republic, both of them. There's the Darth Bane trilogy, there's the Thrawn trilogy, there's the Republic Commando books, which I've read and been reading quite recently. I'm currently on the third one. You know, there's all of this different stuff, and most of it comes from Legends. And I just really like a lot of the stuff. I love the Old Republic era. I really enjoy the post-Return of the Jedi era in Legends. What little I've read of kind of in between the movies, some of the Clone Wars-ish era stuff, which I haven't read much of, but some of that, as well as some of the stuff between episodes 3 and 4 and all that kind of thing, I just think is really interesting. Yeah, at the end of the day, the Legends stuff to me feels more like my Star Wars, which is not to say that I don't also feel that way about the Canon stuff, because again, I love a lot of that too. But Legends to me is just more of it. I think it more reflects what I enjoy in Star Wars. You know, there's just more stuff that I have seen and read about and read and all that kind of thing that just appeals to me more. So I guess even though, you know, I do enjoy both Legends and Canon, Legends is just more of my kind of thing. And again, not that Canon isn't, but Legends just appeals to me more. And I feel more like that's kind of my Star Wars, I guess. So that's pretty much all I've got for you today. I know this one is probably a little bit on the longer side. I've recorded a decent amount, just under half an hour in this video, which I'm gonna edit and cut some things out and whatever. But so I know this was a little bit longer and maybe a little rambly. I don't really plan my videos out that much. Even back when I used to do videos on a different channel several years ago, I don't like to plan them out, which I probably should do, but I like to just kind of have it be a very natural dialogue, I suppose, so things might come across a little bit more rambly, which I hope is okay. But I hope you enjoyed this video, kind of learning a little bit where I'm coming from with this stuff and my perspective on it. Let me know down in the comments kind of your thoughts on this. Have you dived into Legends at all? Are you more of a Canon person? Are you like me where you enjoy both? Which one do you like better? If you have checked out some of both, all that kind of thing, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I always love talking about this stuff with people because I just find it really fascinating for some reason. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. And also, if you guys have any suggestions for videos that you want me to do in the future, feel free to leave those as well, because again, a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to do, either I just haven't felt inclined enough to do, or I just can't really come up with very much. So if there's anything that you would like me to talk about on this channel, then feel free to let me know, because I'm always open to suggestions. So that is pretty much it for this video. So I'll see you guys next time.